Thank you, Noha. If somebody can help Mr. Tariq, if he attending from his mobile phone, he just needs to click on join audio. And like to the left, it's in the bottom to the left, join audio. That's what he needs to do. If somebody can send him this message, like chat, private message, if you can do that, Summer. And take the same message, copy paste to Emil. Thank you, Asma. Thank you. Thank you again, Iman and Aya. So shall I admit the people waiting, or do you admit them, Summer?
Yes, I'm working on this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Farag.
Mr. Muhammad, I made everyone muted so that no one can disturb you while you are explaining.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. So I'd like to...
Anyone who wants to ask, he or she can raise hands and then I am going to unmute.
Yeah, that's how we can keep it organized. Well done.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, good, good, good. So today we're talking about how to teach writing, and there will be a section on how to teach writing online. I'll talk about 2 online tools, or actually 1 online tool that can make your lesson much easier. And it can help you give feedback immediately. So my name is Muhammad Ali Khalaf. I'm a CELTA tutor at Cambridge Assessment English, and I'm also a teacher trainer at the Future University in Egypt. I was the head of the recruitment committee at the department for 1 year, and I'm still a member there, a member of the recruitment committee. Actually, I also held the position of being the CELTA Center manager for 1 year, but I discovered that, you know, the administrative positions are not for me. That's why I just dedicated my life to training teachers and helping teachers. I'm also the founder of Tifilism. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's an online platform that provides services and courses and supports teachers of English anyway. Today, so I'm a teacher trainer. I've been teaching English for about 12 to 13 years. I started in 2008. In 2015, I did my CELTA course. CELTA is a TEFL course provided by Cambridge Assessment English. I liked it very much. That's why I decided to become a CELTA tutor, which made me or encouraged me to do the next step, which is Delta. Delta is a diploma with Cambridge in language teaching, in English language teaching. It stands for Diploma in English Language Teaching to Adults. Delta, Diploma in English Language Teaching to Adults. And that was the basic requirement for me to become a CELTA tutor. So I'm kind of, you know, training teachers since 2015. Once I finished my CELTA, I started training teachers. So I've been training teachers for 6 years. I haven't stopped teaching English, but I do training more than teaching. So today I'm going to talk about how to teach writing. Uh, I'm going to talk about these points. So today's menu is how to motivate students to write, common mistakes when it comes to teaching writing, and I'll talk briefly about the writing framework. I'll talk about one online tool or how can you teach online? How can you teach, how you can teach writing online? I'll mention I'll talk about how to keep your writing tasks effective. And I'll go quickly through something we call communicative goal. I've just introduced myself, Shada. Did you catch that or you came late? Yes, I am from Dumyat. Yes. My parents are still there. I travel there like to see them and see my old friends. So let's start with what do we need to think about when it comes to teaching writing? Number one, you need to think about providing an authentic task. And I'm going to explain that in detail. So the concept of authenticity, simply something that the students might need in the real life or might write in the real life outside the classroom. You need to think about a communicative task. It communicates a message or it does a certain job. You need to think about the fuel. And when I say the fuel, I mean the input that the students need in order to be able to write. And we need also to think about how we plan it, how students can get feedback, and the audience, as I'm going to clarify later on. So let's start with motivating the students to write. Number one is providing a model task. What do I mean by a model task? Can you write some answers in the chat box? What do I mean by providing a model? Good, good, good. Yes. So the word model is kind of a more academic word for the word example. It's a synonym. So you provide them with an example of what they need to write. Excellent. Number two, you need to provide them with a reason for writing. They need to know why this is useful, or they need to know why this is useful in direct speech. They need to know why this is useful. You provide them with an audience who might need to read this. They need to be able to understand that their writing is valuable and there will be audience for it. So you need to raise their awareness. Of course, that wouldn't happen if you provided them with an ineffective task, as we're going to clarify. Providing an immediate audience. Imagine that I ask you to write something and nobody is gonna read it. No one will ever read that. Will you be motivated to write? Yes or no? Just to discover people who are following. Write blah, 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 blah. Then 10 minutes session or the lesson is over, everybody goes back home. They will not even trust you again to write in the classroom. Nobody read what I wrote. So why would I care as a student? So providing an audience, like a general audience, they need to be able to, or let's say they need to feel comfortable that this writing task is useful to somebody, or will help somebody do something, or will help me one day do something, like a CV, for example. This is a good reason. Why? Because they might need it in the future. Okay. And immediate audience, that means in the classroom. You need to find them an audience in the classroom. And you cannot read everything. As a teacher, you will not be able to read. If you have 30 students in your classroom, you will not be able to read 30 writing pieces, even if they were simple. And you will not be able to give feedback to everybody unless you monitored effectively. So the students might be the audience for each other's writings. As for authenticity, I'll talk about authenticity in detail later, but let's move on. Providing a safe environment. What do I mean by safe environment? That goes back to classroom management. That goes back to your orientation lesson or orientation at the beginning of the course. Nobody is allowed to mock anybody. You have to give them some ground rules or some classroom rules. They feel safe. They should feel safe. Nobody is gonna make fun of anyone, let alone the teacher. Students are not allowed to do that. We are all here to learn. And the teacher should be patient and understanding. Don't patronize your students. Common mistakes when teaching writing. And here I'd like to talk about authentic tasks. Inauthenticity. I remember one day, like 3 years ago, I was teaching an upper intermediate level, and there was a writing task in one of the units. And this writing task was about describing the buttons in a remote control. Can you imagine that? How would you feel if I asked you one day, you were in my class as my upper intermediate students, or let's say C1 level, advanced, and I asked you to write a paragraph about the use of each button in the remote control of a device? How would you feel about this? When in life, maybe in your lifetime, are you going to do something similar? How often do you need to write a task like that? How often? Zero percent. 0%. Like never. Thank you, Anas. Never. Rarely. I'm not going to tell you my age, but I am old. I've never needed to write something like that. This is completely inauthentic. I can see that the session is live on YouTube. So that means it's already shared and being recorded. Correct me if I'm wrong, Summer.
Sorry, Mr. Muhammad.
It's recorded, I guess. Once, can you unmute Emil, and I need Emil to tell me about this task and when she needed to write that?
Oh yeah, it's recorded. I also posted on YouTube.
Okay. I hope you share the link with me later on, Summer, if you don't mind.
Sure. Sure.
So Emil, can I ask you to unmute your? Oh, you can't unmute yourself. Are you able to raise your hand? Because I need to learn about this experience when you needed to write a description of the buttons of a remote control. Yes, thank you. I'm trying to ask you to unmute. Yes. Please tell us about this experience.
Good evening.
Mhm.
It was a translation task.
Of course. So it is not, yes, that there was a manual for a device.
Yes,
You just translate it. So it is not
translate.
it is not a writing task, it's a translation task.
Yes, but
And
it is still writing.
translation is not, ELT is a career. Like, I am a teacher. This is one career, one path, and there is another path, which is translation. Yes, we do this by writing.
Yes.
But when I ask you what's the answer to number one, you say Ahmed played football. Is this considered speaking or an answer to a question? It's an answer to a question. You did it by speaking. But it is not a speaking task. It is not a discussion. It is not a debate. It is not a conversation. It is not any form of, fluency speaking. It's just answering to the questions, and it happened to be by your tongue. So writing or translating something, even you write it, doesn't mean it's a writing task. And I clarify that. Okay? Two different things.
Okay. Thank you.
Honestly speaking, you're most welcome. My pleasure. Honestly speaking, the ones who might need to write that are technicians working in companies that produce devices that need remote controls, not our students. So that's why I went to my coordinator and said, I'm not gonna teach this, because this is completely inauthentic. It doesn't resemble real life. It doesn't happen in real life. It needs a technician who works, the one who designed the remote control will know what to write there in the manual. But a student, I don't think so. So inauthenticity demotivates your students. Okay, so think about the task you are giving to students and its relevance. Yes, writing and speaking are productive skills. Listening and reading are receptive skills. So not enough time for the task. Like, you keep talking and talking, you keep explaining and explaining. And in the last 5 minutes, you just squeeze the students to write a paragraph or two. So they will not be able to read each other's paragraphs. You will not be able to provide feedback. So that demotivates the students. I'll not be able to write this in 5 minutes. So you need to balance your pace. You need to allocate your time more effectively while teaching writing. This is very important. Okay. Yes. But each button, the task that I had in the book, it was a crazy book. The task that I had in the book was describing the use of each button. And honestly speaking, do you think my students will need this in their lives? When will it happen? When they write a paragraph about something like this? And don't worry, I'm gonna give you more examples of ineffective writing tasks. So forget my remote control example, because it was an exaggeration, but real exaggeration. It happened to me like 3-4 years ago, 2017, I guess. No brainstorming or useful language. So you need, after you give them the model, I'll talk about the framework anyway. After you give them the model, you need to analyze this model. And you need to provide them with useful language that will help them write or do the writing task. The final one, no readers except the teacher. So nobody's gonna read this, only the teacher, and he will read it or she will read it for marking purposes, not for the benefit of what I wrote, or is just reading this for feedback. No real audience here. So the writing framework. Don't worry, I'll give you time at the end of the session to ask me questions. So if I'm just moving really fast now, I just want to cover everything I prepared for you guys. And I'll give you time to send us questions in the chat box, or you raise your hand and I unmute. What do I mean by the writing framework? The stages that I need to follow to keep my lesson organized. So how do I stage my lesson, or how do I sequence my lesson? What do I need to do first? What do I need to do second, third, fourth? And how can I end my lesson? So the first step ever in any lesson, we can say it's a warmer or a lead-in. And the difference between a warmer and a lead-in is quite, so many people talked about that, but the warmer doesn't have to be relevant to the lesson. So just asking the students how their weekend was, asking them about something like in the current news, how they feel about it, like for 2-3 minutes, listening to your students, trying to bond with them, trying to get them to wear the English language hats. So that's the warmer. As for the lead-in, it has to be related to the topic you are teaching. And when I say the topic or the context or the theme, I don't mean the language. Like I'm teaching the present perfect simple today. This is not my topic. This is my target language. I might have this target language within a text about traveling or experience or lifetime experiences or whatever topic it is. But the target language is present perfect simple. So the lead-in is normally something or a stage to set the context of the lesson. For example, if I'm going to teach them how to write a cover letter for a job, we have CV and we have something on top of the CV called the covering letter or the cover letter. So if it is about writing a cover letter at the end of the lesson, my first stage or the lead-in stage might be about what's your dream job? And what do you need to do to hunt it? Every two together, please speak about your dream job. And what do you need to learn? What steps are you going to take in order to be able to take this job? And I make them speak in pairs or every three together. Then once they finish, I listen to what they said. I prepared them for the coming stages, for what I'm going to teach. So this is setting the context. Now they are ready. They know that we're talking today about jobs and how to hunt a job. Is it personalized? Yes, I asked them about their dream job. I might start by telling them about my dream job and if I'm enjoying it or not. Guys, what about you? What's your dream job? Speak together. And they speak for 3-4 minutes. They come back to me. I walk around and listen. So they come back to me, guys, okay, Ahmed, tell me about Amr's. Amr al-Sawi. Good evening. Tell me about Amr's dream job. So they tell me in a minute. Okay, Amr, tell me about Ahmed's steps or the steps that Ahmed is going to take to catch this job. So things like that. I asked 2, 3, 4 students about their dream jobs and the steps they're going to take. That's the lead-in. If we move on to the model, which is, it can be called the exposure stage. So guys, now we have a text. This text is a real cover letter for a job. And I test it. I show it to them, or I project it. I display it on the projector. So if you look at this cover letter, you need to read it quickly and to find out about Mr. Allen. What's his job? Or what's the job he's applying for? So they read it quickly and they get me like a very simple answer. So the reading task is not complicated, especially if you don't have time or you want to save time for writing. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the chat box. I can see that I have 11 unread messages. The lead-in is to help them put the English language hat in relevance to the topic we're talking about, similar to brainstorming, like to stir their brains and think about jobs, which is the topic today. So if I ask them to read quickly and tell me if they think Mr. Allen will get the job or not, they can. This is a skimming, reading really quickly, and they give me the main idea. And this is kind of an opinion anyway. They might have different answers. I give them, the point here is I give them a task to make them read and get exposed to the model. This model will be helpful in the writing. Okay, lovely. So do you think the reading task should be complicated here? So I write them 7 WH questions. That will affect the time and the pace for your lesson, and they will not be able to write and share ideas, and it will be very difficult for you to give feedback. So if your main aim is reading, yes, you can give them more than one reading task. And you can tackle more than one sub-skill, one reading sub-skill. But if your main aim is writing, do not waste their time on reading. Try to save as much time as possible for the writing task. Excellent, Shayma. Yes. Yes, Aya. Well done, Isam. Great. Mr. Muhammad Khair. Yes, totally agree. Allow me to close the chat and move on. So they read quickly and they answered a genuine reading task, but a simple one. You move on to the useful language stage. So if they're writing a cover letter, they might need to use a word like qualifications. They might need to use a word like skills. They might need to use a word like vacancy. See? So these words, they might need to use words like organized to describe their personalities. So some personality adjectives related to work, some vocabulary related to the cover letter itself, which is like qualifications, like vacancy, like education, like resume or CV. So you need to think what they might need in order to be able to write it. And you can write something, you can explain something related to the structures they might need. If you're talking about routine or facts about you, like a permanent situation, you need to touch on the present simple. So I speak 3 languages. This is a fact about you. So that's why you need to touch on the present simple. And if you're doing something related to the job, that depends on the cover letter. You might need to touch on the present continuous. If you're talking about your experiences, you might need to touch on the past simple. And when I say touch on, like you quickly remind them. Don't turn your lesson into a grammar lesson clarifying 3 tenses. You just need to remind them. And if they are writing a cover letter, that means they are in a higher level than maybe pre-intermediate or intermediate. So you just need to remind them. When we talk about our past experiences, especially if you're mentioning the time, if you're saying when, we need to use the past simple. And how do we form the past simple? So quick reminder. Okay, if you are doing something at the moment, you need to write it in the cover letter and make sure. I muted you, Amal, I'm sorry. So you need to touch on the present continuous, touch on the present simple. If it is a polite request, you need to show them how to, or what phrases are needed for a polite request. It depends on the writing task. What are they going to write? And the best advice for you here is to put yourself in the student's shoes, read the instructions, and try to do the task yourself. And think about what you're going to need. That's exactly what your student's going to need. So don't just look at the book and say, okay, lovely, I'm going to ask them to write a cover letter. Did you write it yourself? Did you try it yourself? Let's think that you are a teacher and you're writing a cover letter to apply in a new school or in a new language center at a new university, or you're going to move to change the city you live in. So you need to write a cover letter to apply for a job. Try it yourself and see. That will give you like a very good dimension, or it will be deep enough to help you assist your students to the maximum level. Genre analysis. And when I say genre analysis, I mean what type of writing it is. So it's an email to apply for a job. So what's this genre? What do I need to include here? I'm writing an invitation, for example. Let me give you another example. The invitation to attend my graduation, or to attend a birthday party or a wedding party or whatever. What do I need to have? What does the invitation include? It includes the name of the event. They need to know that. This is analyzing the genre. It includes the name of the event. It includes the location. It includes the time. It might include other information like whether kids are allowed, whether food or drinks are allowed to bring them. Do we need you to bring something? So name of the event, location, time, and extra information about other things. But these are the three most important items. There is no invitation without the name of the event, its location, and its time. So this is genre analysis. If it is a CV, if you are helping your students to write a CV, to analyze this genre, we need to tell them what the components are. Like personal information, it has to be there. Education, level, training or professional development, contacts, and maybe references. So these are the components of, this is the genre, the components of this kind of writing. I know that genre is a big word. It's, I guess, borrowed from the French language. It means kind of writing or type of writing. So if it is a complaint, this is another genre. How do phrase the complaint? How do we start the complaint? How do we write the closure? Like, we need to state our problem. We need to ask for a compensation. This is how we write that. And of course, you need to analyze the model that you provide to your students in order to be able to see the genre itself. Okay. After you do that, you give them time to write. And don't forget, the useful language should be there nearby. I mean, it can be written as a written record on the board, like a written reference for the students. It is not a test. Guys, if you need to look at the board, please do that. So the useful language is there for them. They look at it and they try to form this writing piece. After they finish writing, or while they are writing, you're doing a very important thing called monitoring. So you are going around looking at what's happening, trying to help the weak students or the slow students. You can micro teach, you can remind them that this can go here, this can go there, and so on. Take care of this. You can even point at a mistake and say, how can you fix this? And so on. So while they're writing, you can circulate the classroom and help without interrupting, like don't be like over their heads. And finally, you can help them swap or exchange their writings, and you can give them like a correction code. And please be realistic. You don't need to fix everything today. If you touched on the present continuous and the present simple, and you touched on, however, although in spite of and contradicting cohesive devices, don't go over the present perfect simple. For example, if they made a mistake with it, if they made a mistake regarding another cohesive device like moreover, for example, you don't have to correct that. Try to correct what you clarified in the useful language stage, because some teachers overwhelm the students by correcting every single mistake in their writing, even if they were irrelevant to what they taught. It will appear in another lesson. You can write a note in your notebook as a teacher and tell yourself that this student, like Nader, needs a lesson on the present perfect simple. So I can focus while I'm delivering such a lesson, or I can speak with them later. But if you taught them the present continuous and the present simple and some cohesive devices, try to, while giving feedback, try to focus on these 3 items. You will not be able to fix every single mistake. And if you do that, you will overwhelm the students and they might get disappointed. Be realistic. You cannot fix every language error in one lesson for each student. Okay, once they read each other writings, and of course you provided them with a checklist on the board or on the projector to help them mark, you can give an overall feedback stage. So you comment on the common errors, you elicit that from the students. Ali Ashur is here. Oh my God. Hello, Ali. How did you know about this?
I told him.
Okay. I was about to unmute you, man, but your picture disappeared. Your video disappeared. Anyway, once they swapped and marked for each other, this is what we call peer checking or peer editing. You give global feedback on what you taught today as a kind of recap. So this is the framework. This is how you organize your writing lesson. And this is one approach called the model approach. We have another approach called the process approach, which is a little different than that. Can the students write in an online class? In our academic writing course, people actually get surprised when everybody has their own Google Docs, guys. If you're not familiar with that, this is a very effective tool you need to start learning. It's like the Word, Microsoft Word, but online. So whatever you write, I can see, and whatever I write, you can see and comment on if you give the students permission to do that. Like when you share it, you need to make sure that you gave them the permission to edit. So this is very important and an effective tool that if you're teaching writing online, you tell me I can't monitor, I can't see what they're writing, but no, you can. But of course it will be hectic if you have like more than 20, 30 students, 20, 30, you cannot monitor effectively. Of course, we do this in face-to-face classes, but still it's difficult when the number increases. You might need to look at the writing later. You won't be able to give feedback to everybody. So some tasks might be marked later. But again, while monitoring, you can give feedback, as I said, global feedback to everyone on the common mistakes. Okay? And if you have low technology, the students can write on a piece of paper, because some students are not able to, for a reason, I'm not sure what it is, they feel intimidated once you ask them to write on Google Docs. That's why you need to have an orientation session. If you are teaching writing online, if you are teaching a general English course online and there is writing in it, you need to familiarize your students with this tool before the course, or maybe in the first session, the first lesson, I mean. You need to show them how to use it. You need to record the tutorials. You need to reassure them that they will be able to use it. Otherwise, they will give you a hard time, especially online. And you can create a WhatsApp group. And if you saw this on my Facebook profile 2 days or 3 days ago, I always use a private Facebook group for each group I have. If your institutions allows this, this will be very easy to go live and show them something on your computer, show them something, how to use a tool. So you will be able to keep a channel of communication with your students. If they feel they cannot use something, you can record a tutorial in 5 minutes and show them how to use it. This is what I do at Tifilism for my courses. And that works. Everybody is happy. And I go live whenever I do a session, maybe a session on classroom management. The candidates felt like there were gaps, or they couldn't grasp the much information I provided, because the session is 3 hours sometimes, or most of the time, to be honest. So they feel overwhelmed. I go live after 2 days. I ask them to watch the recording. Then I go live on my Facebook private group for this or for these trainees, and I explain it again. They feel taken care of. Once you do this with your students, they will chase you wherever you go. Your name will be way brighter than the others or other teachers who do not really care. So you're worried about their progress in the language itself, and you're worried about their progress in using the tools to help them learn. So they feel how sincere and genuine you are, and your name gets mentioned everywhere, and your salary will increase. So the effort you exert to help your students will come back to you in a form or another. Okay? You will be rewarded. So they might write in a piece of paper, handwriting, and they share it on WhatsApp if they are against technology. But we need to train them in using technology. It has become our job. Okay, so we will talk about how effective some tasks are and how to make them effective if they are not effective. I guess that's the point before the last. Okay. So I'll ask you a question, not about this one. If you asked your students to write a paragraph about their dream job, how effective is this task? How effective is it? Is it very effective, so-so, or ineffective? What do you think? Write a paragraph about your dream job. 3 options. absolutely effective, so, absolutely ineffective. Okay, some people are saying it's very effective. Some people are saying so. Nobody has said ineffective yet. Mr. Muhammad Khair is the first one to say ineffective. No, let's assume that they did everything correctly. And at the end, the teacher said, write a paragraph about your dream job. Let me shock you. Thank you, Iman. Absolutely ineffective. Why? Again, how often did you see somebody in real life writing a paragraph about their dream job? I might speak with you about my dream job, but I'm not going to write a paragraph about that in real life. But I can write a cover letter to apply for a job. Did you get the difference? It's a very thin line. When you deliver the task, you need to think about its authenticity. The audience. Who is going to read? Who's going to be happy reading about your dream job? No one cares. But an employer will be really interested in reading your abilities in a cover letter you are applying for. Yes, it's your dream job, but this is doing a specific task. I am applying for this job. I want to be hired at your place. So the audience is real. Again, the audience is really there. And the students will be very happy when you teach them this. Why? One day they will need to write a cover letter because they are actually learning English to get a better job. What if you taught them how to write a cover letter? So they are communicating a message, which is true, which is authentic. It happens in real life. Don't you agree with me? So you turned the same task into something really useful, into something that they need to take with them outside the classroom. It will not die before they leave because most of our writing tasks die inside the classroom because it has no use outside the classroom. Who reads diaries? If you write your diary, who actually reads your diaries? Does it have a real audience? Amani? Sorry, who asked this? Raghda? Diaries do not actually have real audience. It doesn't communicate a message. You do this as a hobby, right? Of course, Muhammad, I'm not talking about a specific age. I'm talking about real audience in writing. And actually teaching writing to 5th grade, it has to be very limited and specific, different genres. Okay, different genres. And I am a CELTA tutor, and being a CELTA tutor means this course or this session is related to writing in general and maybe to adults. Okay, lovely. Yes, honestly speaking, Nari, this is an ineffective task. And can you tell me how you turn this into an effective one? Nari, it's your job now to tell me how to make this effective. The same task, you just tweak it a little bit. Tweak it a little bit about tourism. write a paragraph about tourism. This is an ineffective task in itself now. How can you make this task about tourism more effective? Think about it, guys. And you can type in the chat box. Excellent, Noha. Write an email or a message to your friend abroad, invite them to your country. So this is a communicative, it has a real purpose. It has real audience. It's the same thing, but we tweak it a little bit. Yes, in the invitation, tell them how lovely your country is, or how lovely your, tell them about the sightseeings in your city. Yes, an email to write, to invite them to your country. A short story. We can write a short story as kind of practice for narrative tenses. Yes, when I am a manager in a tours agency, yes, Amal, that can work. Or you are a normal citizen and you are inviting a friend to visit your city or to visit your country. So it has a communicative goal and it's authentic. It happens in real life, right? So allow me to close the chat for a while. Okay, let's look at this task. Rewrite these sentences to change them from direct to indirect speech. Is this an effective writing task? Yes or no? Watch a video. It can work as kind of brainstorming or preparation. Yes, it's ineffective. This is the correct answer, but it can work to help them revise this grammar structure, but it is not a writing task in itself. This is a grammar exercise. Okay. Sharif. I asked you to unmute. Did you get my permission? Hello, Sharif.
Hi, this is Mr. Sharif. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How is everything?
Everything is okay. Thanks so much for listening to me. But my question is about writing. If I'm gonna start with my students, what is the first thing that I have to start with my students? I mean that, do you have any procedures of how to start writing? Because I joining late this class.
There was a slide about this, and inshallah, I'll share the slides with you guys. These are the stages and the framework that we follow in writing. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So another task here, write 5 sentences to describe your hometown. Is it effective? So I'll clarify a little bit. The students might write 1, my city is beautiful. 2, my city has a seashore or has a lovely beach. 3, there is one big library in the downtown. 4, it has nice restaurants. 5, blah, blah, blah. Do you think this is effective? This is what you ask the students to do. 5 sentences to describe your hometown. How do you feel now? Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Guidelines for writing, you need to give them that. Yes. They might feel bored because you are limiting them. The sentences are separated. They're not forming any kind of clear writing genre. Yes. Yes. Of course, for beginners and let's say A1 and A2 level, training them in writing on the sentence level is acceptable. You cannot ask somebody in A1 level to write an email to ask for a refund or to write a CV. Of course, I'm talking about a little bit higher levels. Okay, but sentence levels, like when we are still helping them to form a sentence, of course we can do that. I'm talking about a level that is able to write at the paragraph level, not somebody who's just starting their journey with the language. They're studying the alphabet. I'm not going to ask them to write a paragraph or an email. It will be very limited, of course. Yes. What about this one? Is it effective? You can say yes or no. انت تقريبا عرفت ان انا اللي جايبهم ورا بعض دول كلهم يعني ineffective، فكله يعني ايه هيقول no. I loved your answer, Samiha. If it is a recommendation, then yes. So recommendation or review? Yeah, totally agree. And Ikram, yes, I agree with you. We give them some hints on what they need to write about. The useful language, remember? Questionnaire. But we normally answer questionnaires. We don't write them. If we move on to having a communicative goal, like number 1, remember, write 5 sentences about your hometown. Look at this, a little tweaking, a very little adaptation. Write a post on Facebook in a group related to travel. You didn't exert much effort, but now it has real audience. Now it's inviting. Now it's authentic and it has a communicative goal. The goal out of this for the audience is to love my city and come and visit. So this is some kind of a communicative goal. And in your class, for example, you can help them write this about their hometowns. And if they're from the same town, you can put them in pairs. One of them is the tourist, and they need to think about a country or a different country. They might Google it on the internet and see the main sightseeings and something about the weather. And you can even tell them about this before the class. Like at the end of the today's session, you tell them, next time you need to prepare some information about a country you would like to visit. In the following class, you ask them to revise this information and to write a Facebook post and you can give them actually a framework or an outline. You can take a screenshot of your Facebook, you enlarge it a little bit, you put the logo of Facebook, and you give them this as like a handout or a worksheet with the Facebook logo, trying to, you know, have some fun with them. And if it is actually an online class, they can do this on the Facebook group, the private one I asked you to create for your students. Okay, invite the class to visit your hometown or your country, or a country you would like to go to. Why do you think they should go there? And the communicative goal can be, when every two work together, who convinced who with their country? So that's the end goal. Like, I read your writing, I read your post, you read mine. So where do you think, what's your decision, the final decision? Which country are you visiting? Which city are you going to? And so on. That's a communicative goal. That will keep them motivated. Okay, you're writing, nice, good. You're writing very good. No communicative goal? No. Which country are you visiting is a communicative goal. And today I was assessing a CELTA lesson. You know CELTA? I was assessing a TP. The candidate asked the students to write a paragraph, to write an email to describe their dream job. طبعا انا كنت قايل لهم قبليها او قايل له قبليها بيوم، انت محتاج يبقى فيه communicative goal ومحتاج ان التاسك تبقى authentic. دي كامبريدج كرايتيريا، يعني ده اللي احنا بنعلمه للناس في كامبريدج. لما يعني اللي انا بقوله لكم النهارده ده خلاصه اللي انا بقوله في السلتا. فقال لهم write an email about your dream job. انا يعني اضطريت اتدخل عشان برضو الطلبه ما تحسش ان هم ايه، فقلت له please make it a cover letter to apply for a job. big difference. انا هقعد اوصف في الدريم جوب بتاعتي ليه؟ هيستفيدوا ايه في الاخر؟ انا عايز communicative goal يحصل، او عايز authentic task. And after he said that, okay, write an email to apply for a job. The students did that. And he was monitoring and he helped them. Do you think there was a communicative goal or just an authentic task? No, just an authentic task. The communicative goal could have happened if he asked the students to swap and read the cover letter. Do you think you will accept this candidate or not? Will you give them the job or not? So that would have made it more interesting and would have motivated the students even more. The communicative goal, yes, it was authentic after I helped him to make it authentic, but still it lacked the communicative goal. Now it has a purpose and real audience, the employer. Okay. Write an email to your friend convincing them to visit your hometown. So the audience here is your friend. Okay, write a review of a restaurant you like or tried recently. This can be a communicative goal, because when you tell me about the restaurant, I might go, I might not. So once you write this review and you swap with your partner, do you think you will eat at this restaurant? This is the communicative goal. That's the end result of the writing. A caption to a picture taken of a meal you had, then saying whether you liked it or not and why. So a caption is an authentic text nowadays. It's an authentic task. We all take pictures at restaurants. You remember in Ramadan, you saw my picture at Hamam Abdu with the mulukhiyya and the biggest bread loaf ever. But I was too busy to write a caption, to be honest. I just shared it. no real, now it has real audience, and they might depend on your picture to try this restaurant or not. Authentic and useful. Actually, that's the end of my session today. Thank you very much. And you can keep in touch via this link. You will find my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter, my everything in this link. tefl-ism.com/mk, which is Muhammad Khalaf.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. Hello, Samar.
شكرا جدا مستر محمد خلف على تلبيتك دعوتنا في أكاديمية ارتقاء الدولية.
أنا شاكر
Thank
إن
you very
حضرتك
much.
أنا شاكر إن حضرتك دعيتيني وحطيتي ثقتك فيا إن أنا أقدم السيشن.
أكيد يا مستر، وحضرتك قد الثقة أكيد طبعا يعني. أنا
شكراً
بس
جداً.
أطلب من الشباب الحضور، الأساتذة الحضور، يوجهوا لحضرتك كلمة. بصراحة أنت بذلت مجهود من الأول للآخر، يعني فوق العادي زي ما بيقولوا.
الله يكرمك والله.
جزاك الله خير. طبعا احنا متمسكين بالوعد اللي انت وعدتهوني، انا مش هقول قدام الناس، هو بيني وبينك.
هو ما كانش وعد، ما كانش وعد والله يا سمر، انا قلت لك لو ظروفي سمحت.
ماشي، ما هو برضه انا متمسكه فيه ان شاء الله.
طب ممكن اشرح لك ايه اللي حصل النهارده في يومي عشان يمكن تفهمي انا يعني في السلطه ايه اللي بيحصل. علي اخذ سلطه، علي عاشور اخذ سلطه، وعارف ضغطتها. انا صحيت الصبح الساعه 8، جريت على السنتر، صورت الانبوت سيشنز من الساعه 9 للساعه 12 ونص بدي انبوت، من 1 الا ربع ل 2 الا ربع بدي حاجه اسمها اسيستد ليسن بلاننج، من 2 وربع ل 5 ونص بقيم دروس بتتشرح، من 6 الا ربع ل 7 الا ربع بدي فيدباك، من 7 الا ربع ل 7 ونص كنت عايز الحق اصور الانبوت بتاع بكره ما لحقتش، وجاي جري في الطريق عشان الحق الساعه 8 ونص، يا دوب شربت حاجه سخنه قبل ما يعني ده اليوم. طيب هخلص معاكم واقعد اصحح الاساينمنتس. فوالله العظيم الدنيا يعني شديده الضغط اليومين دول، فممكن لما اخلص الضغطه اللي ورايا في الصيف، لان السلطه تعتبر السيزون بتاعها في الصيف، فيبقى في كورسز كتير ورا بعض، فاول ما ضغطه الصيف تخلص ممكن اعمل سيشن كمان.
لا ده انا عايزه اعرف حضرتك شربت ايه، ده اهم حاجه بقى دلوقتي.
صراحه شربت طبق شوربه.
عافيه، صحه وعافيه. أنا شاكرة حضور حضرتك وبارك الله فيك، ربنا إن شاء الله ينفع بيك الناس وينفعنا بعلمك دايما يا رب.
اياكم. انا بشكرك والله ان انت عامله حاجه زي كده ومنظماها، ويعني بتدعي الناس ان هم يحضروا يعني.
الحمد لله احنا بنحاول نعمل فعاليات فعلا ان هي تفيد الحضور المعلمين، ويعني احنا في أكاديمية الارتقاء لينا هدف معين من الاسم. يعني انا ممكن كنت اختار اي اسم تاني خالص للأكاديمية، يمكن حضرتك فاهم ان في ناس يقول لك انجلش معرفش ايه، يعني بيرتبط دايما باللغة، لكن انا عاملة الفكرة بشكل عام كبير قوي ان هو ارتقاء. يعني انا هدفي ارتقاء المعلمين والناس بشكل عام.
تمام ربنا يا رب يجعله في ميزان حسناتك، وان شاء الله يعني تحققي الهدف بتاعك على كل خير
ان شاء الله. جزاك الله خير. في دكتور عطية بعد إذن حضرتك رافع إيده، لو تسمح نقبل دكتور عطية، من الناس المميزين يعني ما شاء الله عليه.
اهلا بحضرتك يا دكتور.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
عليكم السلام ورحمه الله وبركاته.
Welcome to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Thank you
Thank
for
you
your
so much,
effort.
but the quality of the sound is not, is not really clear. I can't get what you're saying, but
I hope it's clearer now. I think it's much better now.
yes.
Okay, thank you very much for your lecture. Thank you very much for your efforts. But I'd like to ask about something or have a discussion if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all.
Okay, regarding the first thing you spoke about, which is the remote control, and you considered it ineffective task. What if it is part in ESP English or English?
It will be absolutely effective. If it is a task for engineers who are studying this to be more effective in English with engineering, of course, yes, it will be 100% relevant. In a real class, ESL, like students who would like to apply for universities, who would like to get a better job, it will be ineffective. Of course, this will be very useful for the technicians for taking this course.
Okay, I mentioned this because I think about 11 years ago, I was teaching technical English, okay? And my students one day had a question about the electric saw. Well, write a paragraph describing the photo. And although it was generally descriptive, okay, it's sometimes something similar to what we have in IRIS academic writing tasks. Sometimes we have to describe procedures or processes. So this is the first point I wanted to talk about.
I totally agree with you. If you are teaching this to a technician, it's his core job. So this is the core of his job. So it would be very effective in a different context.
So we can say it depends on the audience, or it depends on the level. Sometimes it depends on the level of the students.
It depends on the purpose of the book. How many people of you taught specific English, like English for doctors?
Okay, English for medicine, I think.
How many people taught English for bankers only? How many people taught? This is very rare, Dr. Atiyah. So I was talking about the norm.
Okay. Another point, if you don't mind, how can you make sure that you have achieved your goals if you are teaching a similar writing task?
Actually, the product, the final product at the end, were the students able to produce what you wanted them to produce or not?
Okay. I have another question, if you don't mind, related to it. If you ask the students to practice peer observation or peer feedback, they have to look at each other's writing, okay? And some of them are excellent students, some of them are average, some of them are poor or weak, okay? How can we make sure that all of them have grasped your ideas, understood your instructions, and—
A very good question. That's a very good question, Dr. Atiyah. Once you receive or you start a new class, there is something you need to be aware of, which is the class profile. The class profile consists of information about their level, information about their abilities, and information about their learning preferences. And if you were following me in Ramadan, I provided my fellow teachers, my colleagues on Facebook with a questionnaire that will help the teacher learn about the students, something called needs analysis that needs to happen after the placement test, and another questionnaire called learning preferences for somebody called Mumford, I guess, if I remember right. So with this amount of information, you will be able to pair the students accordingly. If you need two strong students together, you can do that. If this student is quite shy, don't pair them up with a dominant student or somebody who might dominate the task. So you need to think about how you're going to group your class anyway, depending on the task.
Okay, the question is, where will you put that shy student?
You leave it with another shy student and you go to them while monitoring and you help them both.
How can
you
they
help both while monitoring?
How can they improve? If both are shy, both are not able to communicate.
You're not listening to the second half of my sentence. Like, if this is a writing task, let me finish if you don't mind.
No, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay, so like two strong students together,
yeah,
two weak students together, or three weak students together, and you are monitoring and you divided everybody to work in pairs this way. So the two strong students, you were passing by, because writing takes from 10 to 15 minutes if it is a strong task. So you passed by, you sit beside the weak ones and check what they're doing, and you provide them with a chance of what we call micro teaching. micro teaching, because those students are the weakest. So I'll try to help them even more. I'll give them extra 2 or 3 minutes of my time as a teacher and micro teach what I clarified to everybody else. So micro teaching during monitoring will help those students move up a little bit. And later on, in later classes, you gradually pair them up with the stronger students. But not at the beginning of the course, because that might demotivate them when they feel the big gap between them and the strong students. So it will be a little hectic on your side, but gradually they will gain more confidence and they will start working with the stronger students, but make sure that this strong student is kind. Don't pair them up with somebody who is a little naughty and that might give them hard time. That's it.
Okay. Next point, if you don't mind, diaries.
So we need to give time to other people. I'm sorry if Summer.
I'll finish quickly.
Because I'm leaving at 10, if you don't mind.
Okay, just 1 minute, no more.
Okay, sure.
Okay, you consider diaries ineffective task. Okay.
I didn't say that.
No, when you ask it to set someone.
No, I said who is the audience. I said who.
Okay. Don't parents have a look at their children's diaries? Or
maybe yes. Yeah, diaries are something useful. Again.
So in that case, my best friend, I exchange my diaries with my best friend, for example, or my parents in a direct way or indirect way have a look at my diaries. So I think it depends on the person who.
Yes, you are right. You are right. It depends on how you're going to use it, but this is not the norm again.
Okay, the last point.
I'll never exchange my diaries with people because it's very personal, and that's what's known about diaries. And actually, if you watch movies, or if you there is a TV series called Modern Families. There was a big problem between the girl and her mom when she invaded her privacy and read her diaries. So diaries are quite personal.
It depends.
This is my point of view. This is my point of view, and I will never teach diaries in a class because it doesn't communicate a message.
Okay. The last point when
no last point. I'm sorry. I need to give that chance to somebody else. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, Dr. Atiyah.
It's okay, but it's important. I think it's important because it's related to instructions given to students in the class. Anyway, thank you very much. Yes.
I'm really sorry, but we have so many people in the room, and the time is not divided equally.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Summer, for the invitation. Thank you to all of you, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So let's unmute Isam. Try to make it quick, Isam, if you don't mind. Hello? Isam, I unmuted you.
Okay, is it working now? Hello?
Yeah, it is, yes.
Yeah, okay, first, thank you for delivering this lecture, Mr. Muhammad. Okay, I have a request and I have a question. The first one is, can you just provide us with a writing lesson plan? And the question, okay.
I have on my page, Tiflism, I always share stuff like that. Okay. And I might share a writing lesson plan for a Pass A candidate with Summer. Yeah. I'll search for it because I shared it like a few months ago.
Okay, if you please, yeah, it would be helpful. Okay, and the question actually I have regarding that's the product approach. Okay, what about the process approach? What's the difference? So
it needs a session to be clarified, but like the highlight is, instead of giving them the model, you clarify the useful language and you brainstorm ideas, and once they form this into a writing piece, you give them the model as an answer key. So they don't take the model first. You give them the process, you help them organize their writing, you give them the useful language needed for the writing, then they start writing. After that, they can see an answer key for that. So
they start writing without a model, right?
Of course, but you need to give them input as well.
Okay. Because I thought that the process approach actually is for you can say extended courses and all of this. So if it was a long time, it will be helpful to use the process approach. That's
Actually, it has nothing to do with time.
Mhm.
Both are okay. But if I am a fan of the model approach because it's more helpful to students. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like a test. It feels like I gave you an example. Now we can follow the guidelines here.
Okay.
I hope I answered your question.
No,
Let's
no,
move,
perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mahmoud. Thank you.
let's move to Amani.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم
ثانك يو
السلام.
مستر محمد، جزاك الله كل خير، جدا استفدنا.
Thank you so
بس
much.
سؤال بعد اذنك، ازاي ممكن نقدم على السلطه وهل هي اونلاين نقدر ناخدها؟ وسؤال تاني شخصي معلش، لو انا قدامي طريق ان انا اخد اكمل في الدكتوراه او ان انا لازم اختار واحده بس، تنصحني بالسلطه ولا بالدكتوراه في بالنسبه للحياه العمليه؟ وشكرا جزيلا لحضرتك.
لو تحبي تبعتي لي ده بعدين لان ده irrelevant للسيشن. يعني انا بصي سايب لك يعني ازاي تتواصلي معايا. هتلاقي الفيسبوك هنا، هتلاقي انستجرام هنا. شوفي تواصلي معايا من خلال اي بلاتفورم واساعدك. اصل الاجابه دي محتاجه اسالك اسئله عشان اقدر اجاوبك، فمحتاج اعرف تفاصيل اكتر.
ميرسي جدا. يعني سهل ان شاء الله اني اتواصل، يعني حضرتك بترد،
لا
يعني عند
كلميني هرد
حضرتك
والله.
وقت؟
لا كلميني والله هرد خلال يوم بالكتير.
ميرسي
يعني
جدا
ممكن ارد
جدا.
النهارده لو لحقت او بكره.
جزاك الله كل خير يا فندم.
انا واياكم يا رب. استاذ
طيب
احمد.
انا فتحت يا لمستر احمد، ولان طبعا بقى لنا 5 minutes مش عايزين نتقل حضرتك ونتعبك يعني.
ربنا يكرمك والله. انا لو قادر والله كنت كملت اكتر من كده، بس انا يومي بادئ من 7. معلش.
I know والله I know. ما قصرت. Thank you.
Most welcome. Ahmed, I'm trying to unmute you.
Okay, so
yes. Assalamu alaikum.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
I'm very happy to have you today, Mr. Muhammad, and thank you very much, Ms. Summer. But I will not be long for you. I won't be very long for you. It's okay, just 3 minutes, okay? I want to talk about the idea or the concept of writing a paragraph or whatever. In dealing with my students in class, I think this is a bit hard for my students. Writing something or writing a paragraph or writing an essay for higher grades is a hard something for my students. So what do you think about that? I understood that an effective topic or a targeted topic, it would be more better than other ways. So what do you think of this idea? The concept of writing in general for the students, I think this is something which is hard. What do you advise me to do with that? Thank you very much.
Actually, this is a very good question. And I myself, as a teacher and a teacher trainer, when I have a task that requires writing, I worry about it. Even if it was a response to an email, because writing, when you make a mistake with it, it stays forever. Speaking, people leave and they forget. But writing is quite different. And sometimes I ask myself, why I'm teaching writing to somebody who's going to work as a motivational speaker, or as a football player in a different country, or as let's say an engineer, a site engineer in like, because this happened at my university. I teach writing to dentists, academic writing to dentists. And I ask them to write paragraphs of like advantages and disadvantages, problem solution paragraphs irrelevant to their jobs. If it was English for medicine, like Dr. Atiyah said, English for specific purposes, that would be useful and relevant. The problem is with some curricula, the curriculum itself is not helping the students improve, and we find ourselves forced to teach something that the students are not going to need or they're not going to use. That's the real dilemma. So it
Yes.
is not always in our hands, Ahmed.
So I think students have no ideas. The problem now is that if we want to ask them to write about anything, about some topics, for example, they have no ideas about anything. So if you give me, if you give them a picture, for example, they wanted just to describe it. So this is ridiculous. This
So
is not. Yes, 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 yes.
You just
That
need
is what I wanted to say. Yes.
You need to familiarize them with the topic you're going to ask them to write about at the end. So that's the beauty of the model approach. If they're going to write a specific topic and they read about it for like 10 minutes, at least they will be more familiar than the same students without reading about the topic. So
yeah.
I understand it's challenging, but what can we do? Some schools or some institutes will give you a book and ask you to finish it.
Yes,
so
thank you very much.
You try to adapt and tweak the tasks in order to make them a little bit more interesting, applying the criteria we talked about.
Yes, I'm very, very happy to have you today, and I wish we could meet again, inshallah. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Thank you
I'll take one more question. Noha? ايدك وجعتك رفعها بقالك كتير.
Sorry, thank you. I was asking actually about giving models to students. I face the problem that they start copying this model. So how can I deal with this?
They start copying this in class?
Not copying word by word, but their texts will usually is almost the same as mine or the model I gave them.
Yeah, this happens, and actually this is the learning process. Even if they copied it, that means that they weren't able to produce it themselves, and it is not a test. You're just training them in writing today, so they might need to look at this model and learn what's there. So copying is not 100% dangerous. It's part of the learning process. At least they got an idea. Maybe with the homework, you're not going to give them a model. So it might work.
Okay.
It might work.
Thanks.
And everything has advantages and disadvantages. The lazy students, yes, they will copy and they don't care about learning anything new. And if they don't care, you just try to raise their awareness, but you can always guide the horses to water, but you can't force them drink. You do your best, you raise their awareness, you draw their attention to the importance of things, but you cannot always guarantee that they will apply what you tell them.
You mentioned another approach about process. Is there a resource or something that I can get more information about this approach?
Actually, there is a lovely book called Learning Teaching for Jim Scrivener.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah, you can find more information about it there.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Most welcome. Muhammad Khair.
Hello, Mr. Muhammad.
Hello, Muhammad. How are you?
I hope my voice is clear.
It is clear.
Yeah, thank you for that. Actually, I just want to tell you that I have attended a lot of meetings, but you nailed it. Really.
Oh, thank you, man.
Really. And I really thank you for your time. And I know how it goes when you wake up at 7. So I will not take a lot of time. I just need to give a piece of advice for Mr. Ahmed, because I had the same problem with the young learners.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because I had the same problem with the young learners. Actually, I tried to approach them by asking them and let them talk first about the things that interested them, like games or something like that. I know it's because we are restricted with certain curriculums, and we need to follow up the plan. But when I did that, I saved much time and I saved a lot of effort I told them to start writing regardless to the mistake that they will do. It will get better. It will get better sooner and sooner, and actually that works. So that's my piece of advice for Mr. Ahmed, and thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Khair. ربنا يكرمك.
I will try to contact you, inshallah, on any of the platforms, and I hope that I'm not disturbing you.
No, not at all. And you forgive me if I just get late with response, because I have an input session tomorrow and everything. So guys, this is my WhatsApp number. هما 6 وحيد عشان بس الرقم ده بيعمل.
Okay, I just took a screenshot.
2846, and the one who asked me about CELTA and PhD or how to apply for CELTA, I'll be glad to answer your questions. Just WhatsApp me here or Facebook, whatever. I check everything regularly. So if it is not today, maybe tomorrow, max. I'll make sure I answer all your questions. So thank you very much for giving me this chance, and I hope I didn't waste your time. I didn't completely waste your time. I was somehow useful. Thank you very much, and best of luck.
Mr. Muhammad, I will send you something. It's a certificate, sorry. I want to show you it, if you don't mind, before you
I'll stop sharing. I'll
okay.
stop sharing now, and you can share your screen.
Okay, give me a moment, please.
Thank you, Mr. Nuha Salah. Miss Nuha Salah. And my battery is dropping down. No juice. I'm gonna switch off. My brain is, yeah.
لا احنا عايزينك ما ينفعش.
Thank you, Nuha, for using the questionnaire I shared. لسه في ناس بتخش الويتنج روم يا سمر.
عندهم امل.
انا قلت لك انا السيت بتاعي بياخد 500 يعني كنا
جبنا. انا ما رضيتش اتعب حضرتك بقى معايا يعني.
لا مفيش اي تعب والله.
دقيقة بس. اوكي. Now, is it clear? Can you see my screen, Mr. Muhammad?
Yes, I do. Oh, thank you so much. I just noticed my name is written.
Yes, it's written. Sure.
But in recognition, right?
Yes. Just a mistake. It's okay. لأن أنا يعني أنا ما أشرفتش عليها بنفسي يعني it's okay. Made. I didn't check it before. I transferred it to my computer to show you it, but I didn't revise it before I show you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
إن شاء الله بنعدلها و I will send it for you. Inshallah, later on when I'm in Egypt, I will give it for you hand by hand.
Okay, thank you. I can take the soft copy and be happy with it.
لا إن شاء الله بحتفظ بيها لحضرتك ولما أنزل مصر بإذن الله بحطيها لحضرتك. But I will send it for you as PDF.
Thank you. My pleasure. الناس اللي رفع ايديها دي ناسين ايديهم مرفوعة ولا لسه عايزين يسألوا؟
هتوجعهم هم حرين.
اتشرفت بيكم وشكرا على وقتكم، وان شاء الله كده نتقابل تاني على خير.
ان شاء الله. مع السلامه.
مع السلامه.
Thank you Mr. محمد.
You're most welcome. It's my pleasure.